the mayor of America. Rudy Giuliani used to be so respected. Respected. Look at this. Person of the year. What happened to America's mayor? He used to be the man. He used to be the top dog. When you got in trouble, who do you call? Giuliani, but not no more. You don't want to call Giuliani for anything unless you're planning on going to jail or getting sued. That's the only time you'll call up Rudy. Now let's see. Oh, here we go. August 17th. Let's see the fall of Rudy because we know about the defamation. We're going to get into all of that too. But let's just get a little brief overview of who Rudy was. Because, 50 Cent once told us, damn, homie, in high school, you was the man, homie. Now, he was the mayor from 94 to 01. I was in high school from 99 to 2003. So when I was in high school, he was the man. He was the man. But let's see. The fall of Rudy Giuliani, how America's mayor tied his fate to Donald Trump and got indicted. Man, you don't want to hear that I word. You don't ever want to hear that I word. Look at him. He was around for 9/11. New York Mayor Rudy Giuliani leaves. New York Governor George Patik left. Hillary Rodman. You see? Him and Hillary, they used to be cool. This is back in the day. Now, that's one thing you got to know about politics. All of these politicians, they're friends behind the scene. It's just when they go to work, it's just like you and I. We got to get serious. We got to become ops. But behind the scenes, they all work together. They've known each other all of their careers. So this is doing 9/11. But Rudy glared across the Washington room as a lawyer seeking his disbarment after January 6th insurrection. He asked, how did this man, celebrated as America's mayor after 9/11, become a leader of an attempted overturn of a national election? It's like there's two different people. Hamilton, Phil Fox III, damn, that's a long ass name, the lead prosecuting attorney of the agency that disciplines Washington's lawyers, said last December, I don't know if something happened to Mr. Giuliani or what. Now, let's see. Um, he was knighted and named the Times Magazine Person of the Year. Okay. For his leadership as New York City's mayor after 2001 terrorist attack. I mean, if you're being real, any mayor that would have been the mayor of New York probably would have got this. Person of the Year 2001. Damn, Rudy was a little bit slim back then. All right. Boom. Has seen his reputation. Uh, the false claims of 2020 election. So this is what I'm really trying to get at. So basically, his reputation went down in the hole for linking himself with President Donald Trump, which would have been all right during the presidency. But once 2020 came and the election fraud, allegedly, where we stole the election, came about, this is where Rudy started to go wrong. He started to spiral down what we could call a hole, or we could call it the toilet. Either way, he started to spiral. On Monday, Giuliani's downfall sank to his lowest level yet with his indictment in Georgia on charges as he acted as Trump's chief co-conspirator in a plot to take over Joe Biden's victory. So this is where they're talking about him going down into RICO. Giuliani, Trump, and 17 other people were charged under Georgia's version of the Racketeering Influence and Corrupt Organization Act. Now, this is a whole nother case. And out of the 17, 13 of them have already took plea deals. Giuliani, Trump, Mark Meadows, they haven't. And there's one more person, I forgot the name. But you got to remember, the law known as the RICO was once one of Giuliani's favorite tools when he was cracking down on mobsters and Wall Street titans as Manhattan's top federal prosecutor. See, so he was attacking the mobsters and he was attacking Wall Street. The crazy thing is, Trump, now who was up under Rudy Giuliani, who was a lawyer, has a civil case where he's already been found liable for inflating and deflating his taxes and his property value. So all of these RICO cases and everything that Giuliani used to go after, we're watching it unfold because he looked in the mirror and said, you know what? Let me get in on this action. All right. All right, we don't need to care. We don't care about that. Former attorney. Da, 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 da. All right, so this is basically just giving us all the information. All right, so we got a little history of Rudy and how he used to be the man, and he could have just walked away from the game if he would have never partnered with Trump. Now, as we see here, 4 days ago, this trial started back in November. $148 million in damages verdict adds to Rudy Giuliani's financial woes as he awaits his criminal trial. Now, if you didn't know, Rudy was already financially struck. Trump was not paying any of his lawyer fees. So once all of this started happening, the RICO started coming down. Trump had already separated himself away from Rudy. Now, Rudy has still been loyal to Trump. We don't know why. We don't know what's the reasoning behind it, but Trump is just distancing himself and he ain't paying nothing. He talks bad on Rudy. He does all kinds of shit. Well, in 2020, Rudy Giuliani decided to spread a lie. Now, this lie, it pertains to two election workers, ballot workers, and he said that they were pumping the ballots with Joe Biden Joe Biden ballots. When really all they were doing was just passing some just little peppermints, you know what I'm saying? Just a little something. But let's see what he says here. Let's see.
You're gonna die in prison.
I know that my country had a president imposed on it by fraud. Who has caused, these are not conspiracy theories. These are proven facts.
Where's your evidence?
I'm not allowed to present it. You see what she just did? You see what she just
They asked Rudy, where's your evidence? Now, if we do a little bit of digging, we will see in court documents he admitted that he was lying. So he'll still get out here and tell the media because he's trying to save face with the faithful Trumpsters out here. But during this whole proceeding, he admits that he was lying. He admits that the election was, well, he doesn't say that the election was won, but he admits that everything he was saying was a lie. And the reason he said that is because he could have been held in contempt. That's why you'll hear him also say in other interviews, well, I couldn't really say what I wanted to because the judge, they were going to throw me in jail. That's why he didn't testify last Monday, because he said the judge was going to throw him in jail. Well, he was only going to throw you in jail if you were perjury. He was going to hold you in contempt. So it's a lot of stuff that people really don't see. And, you know, of course, Trump supporters, they definitely aren't about to look into this.
just she didn't allow me to present a stitch of evidence.
Will Ruby bring anything
I got
on
you.
the testimony?
Mr. Giuliani, what is President Trump doing for you in return?
The downfall of America's mayor.
Will he grant you pardons? Will he name you
I'll
a
tell you what President Trump did for me in return. He left a peaceful world to Joseph Biden. And Joseph Biden has given us a world of war with thousands and hundreds of thousands of people dead that wouldn't have been dead if America hadn't been defrauded into electing Joe Biden. Think about that. When you watch the movie,
You committed the fraud.
when you watch the movie, It's a Wonderful Life. Just think if it didn't happen, if Biden hadn't been elected and Trump had been elected.
God. Hey, man, what the hell?
future Trump
Did you read the
administration?
indictment against you, Rudy? Here, guys. Give us a second here.
Would you become Attorney General if he named you for the position?
All right, thank you, guys. Sorry.
Well, one thing he's talking about is the little war that's going on. I won't call it a little war, but the war that's going over there in Palestine. We stand with Palestine. Well, in Joe Biden's defense, more Americans died up under Trump in the military than they have up under Joe Biden. That's just facts. But all right. So we got the criminal trial awaiting Giuliani. That's the RICO. Should be March or May of next year, because I know they're trying to get all of these trials in before the election time. But here we go. The $148 million verdict in the defamation case brought by two former Georgia election workers marks a new low point for the man once lauded as America's mayor, whose advocacy of Donald Trump's false election claims has led to criminal charges and hefty legal bills. And the jury's verdict could be a troubling sign for Giuliani as he gears up to defend himself against charges in Georgia that could land him behind bars. Now, these two women, I'm trying to show you guys the breakdown. And I got you, Torrin, in a second. I'm gonna try to show you guys the breakdown of the money and how the damage and everything paid is going to be paid out. But realistically, they're not going to see this whole 148 million. Giuliani doesn't have 148 million, and if we're being honest, Trump doesn't even have 148 million. They're broke. We've already exposed where Trump was trying to get you to make 3 payments within 30 days for his fucking free Trump funds. So they don't have any money right now. There's no money. Plus, all of the assets and money in New York for Donald Trump have been turned over to the courts. Not physically turned over, but they're watching everything. So he can't move any money that will potentially mess up his trial because he's already been found liable for his fraud. Just like Giuliani was found liable. Now, you got to remember in civil cases, there's no there's no guilty or not guilty. It's liable or not. If you're liable, technically guilty, then you have to pay up whatever that sum is. Now, it's like everything is crashing down on them. Nick Anchorman said, New York attorney who briefly worked alongside Giuliani in the federal prosecutor's office there. He hasn't come to grips with what he has done to life, and he has completely destroyed himself. He vowed Friday to appeal, calling the damages awarded to Rudy Freeman and her daughter, Wandrea Shea Moss. Okay. Absurd. Outside of Washington's federal courthouse after the verdict, he repeated his claims that the 2020 election was stolen from Trump. Now, this was on Friday after he got out of there with the 148 million, sweating his ass off. Now, back in July, see what happened when you start piecing it together? So on Friday, he said it's absurd. He repeated that his claims the 2020 election was stolen from Trump. Well, back in July 26, 2023, Giuliani concedes he made public comments falsely claiming Georgia election workers committed fraud. You see what I'm saying? So when you just do a little bit of reading, you'll be able to find out that he already admitted that he was lying. But whenever he goes into court, you remember when he said he had evidence? He just couldn't prove it. He just couldn't give that evidence in court. That's because he already on record said he lied about all of it. That's why he didn't go to court and testify, because if he got cross-examined, he would commit perjury. Then it will say in the transcripts that Rudy Giuliani admitted that he was lying. But to save face, you just got to do what you got to do. So it's just right now, it's just, smoke and mirrors and stuff. Let me see. It should be, depending on what they get. I'm pretty sure that the lawyers had it set up that the lawyers' legal fees are going to be paid out of this. But I think that's put in there, though. Let me see. I thought they had a payout somewhere, because the whole 148 isn't what they're getting. It's like 40 a piece for, here we go. There was an audible gasp in the courtroom when the jury foreperson read aloud the 75 million award in punitive damages for the women. Moss and Freeman were each awarded another roughly 36 million in other damages. So they'll have their lawyer fees paid out, and this is in Washington. So they'll probably get it after taxes. But if we're being honest, 148 million, you're probably going to see maybe 100,000, 150,000. But what they can do is have the court seize everything, and any money that he makes, they can start asking for that before he starts paying lawyers off into the Georgia case. Now, if you heard about them two, the story for them is just like what happened with Alex Jones and everybody. When they start spreading these lies, there's really nothing you can do. So she said, money will never solve all my problems, Freeman told reporters outside the Washington federal courthouse. After the verdict, I can never move back into my old house that I call my home. I will always have to be careful about where I go and who I choose to share my name with. I miss my home, I miss my neighbors, and I miss my name. Now, Wandrea, you just gonna have to go by Shay. We're gonna have to call you Big Money Shay now. That when we see Wandrea, we gotta call her Big Money Shay now. If she can get some of this money. Unfortunately, like she said, money won't solve all the problems because we know realistically they're not gonna see that 75 apiece. So let's say they see 100,000, maybe. They still lost their whole life. People are still going to be going after them if they hear their name. Wandrea. How many Wandreas do y'all know? I don't know any Wandreas. I knew a couple of Andreas, but a Wandrea? Or it might be W Andrea, Dub Andrea. I don't know. I'm just gonna say it's Wandrea. But I don't know any of them. I know a Shad Moss, but I don't know no Shay Mosses. You see what I'm saying? What up, Torian?
What's going on? I had a good time going in on Rudy Giuliani the other day about this. And this is exactly what he deserves with his old crusty, decrepit, jellyback ass.
Easy, man. He's America's mayor. Let me see.
America's mayor. If his name is not Marion Barry, he is not nobody's America's mayor.
Yeah. One thing we ain't gonna do is this is a true American hero here. What he did for New York after 9/11.
What he did to New York.
Yeah, but now you tearing it up. All right. So look, even here, Giuliani, his lawyer acknowledged that his client was wrong, but insisted he wasn't the sole reason why these women faced all of this nonsense. See, the defense sought to largely pin the blame on right-wing website that published the surveillance video of the two women counting ballots. And this is what we're talking about here. Yeah, it's just gonna go down for them, man. But one thing you're gonna realize that these fools ain't got the money that y'all think they got. Like I said, Trump's about to be exposed. He's about to be exposed bad after this damn verdict come out. Now that doesn't pick up till January 11th. Closing arguments for Trump's civil case is January 11th. He's facing 250 million, and then 3 days after that, the list for Epstein comes out. So it's about to be a hell of a new year. Let me tell you that. It's about to be a hell of a New Year's. Let me see. Giuliani already been showing signs of financial strain as he defends himself against costly lawsuits and investigations stemming from his representation of Trump. His lawyer suggested that the defamation case could financially ruin the former mayor, saying it will be the end of Mr. Giuliani.
As if he'll be missed.
And then Giuliani is still facing his biggest test yet, fighting criminal charges in the Georgia case accusing Trump and 18 others of working to subvert the results of the 2020 election. Now, you got to remember, all of the information that was given in this civil case, they're going to take him admitting that he lied about it, and they're just going to apply those legal documents to the damn RICO down in Georgia to further along the phone calls that they got. The 16 people that already took plea deals, they're going to give up information. Even Trump's old lawyer has said, you know what? I'm out. I'll tell y'all what y'all need to know. So it's about to be ugly, man. But I'm loving this because
you know what? It can't get any uglier than he is.
That is true. But still, you put ugly with prison cells. Oh man, and that's an ugly sight right there.
He gonna be the prison pop.
And then what else we got? Oh yeah, well, y'all just heard yesterday, Colorado officially took Trump off the ballot. I mean, it was a blue state anyway. He wasn't going to win. Now they're talking about taking this up to the Supreme Court. The only thing is, Supreme Court can't overturn the Supreme Court of the state because local elections, well, state elections are ran by the state. So I mean, the Supreme Court can look at it, but what they can do is say, hey, they're right about this, the 14th Amendment being violated, which will open it up for every single state.
And then you got that dummy ramen noodle going to follow right behind him. I'm like, you are so stupid. Why would you suspend your campaign in that state? I'm like, you must not want to win, all because you want to stand in solidarity with Trump. Anyway.
Let me see, 2020.
That's because his base is his base.
Like I said, Colorado, they weren't going to win Colorado anyway. So it looks good. Hey, we're going to pull out of Colorado. Like, y'all weren't going to win Colorado anyway. It's been a blue state for like the last 50 years.
So you just gotta laugh. I said the jokes sometimes just write themselves.
Yeah, so I mean, we're not gonna go to Colorado. Y'all weren't gonna win Colorado anyway, but Colorado is just gonna get it started. Now, these swing states, you know what I mean? Like Arizona flipped. If Arizona could get them off the ballot, and what was the other one? Was it Pennsylvania? I think it was
Georgia. Was it Georgia?
Yeah, Georgia flipped. But if they can get them off and Arizona can get them off, oh, it's done. Well, I mean, he wasn't going to win anyway, but because even though you hear a lot of people online saying, oh, man, we need Trump back. And at the end of the day, them niggas ain't about to go do no voting. The people that actually matter are going to go out there. But that's pretty much all of Rudy Giuliani. But we do see that he's getting sued again. My girl Wandrea on his ass now. We're gonna go for another 150.
Hey, go for it all. Like I said in the Discord earlier, get that man all the way down to the molecular level.
Come on, man.
I would just click that thing saying continue without disabling.
Yeah, I didn't see. I was just clicking. I thought it was, you know how they usually have like a little pop-up.
And it's much more of a beginning than an end. The $148 million verdict in Rudy Giuliani's election worker civil defamation case. The former New York mayor has vowed to appeal the 9-figure ruling, but the road ahead is bigger than that. For starters, less than an hour ago, we learned that attorneys for Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss filed a new complaint against Giuliani seeking an injunction. We'll tell you about what that means in a moment. But what about Donald Trump himself? If Giuliani is guilty of defaming two innocent people, knowingly spreading lies at their expense, is the disgraced ex-president as well? After all, the January 6th Select Committee clearly illustrated the way that Trump targeted Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss in the aftermath of the election. This was the crowd in Valdosta, Georgia, at a Trump rally on December the 5th, 2020. Remember, this was after the election. What they're doing is watching the video, incorrectly purporting to show Moss and Freeman engaged in election fraud.
I thought I seen you out there, Torian. Man, they being paying. I thought I seen you over here somewhere.
Oh,
like,
you definitely didn't see me. Like that looks like a crowd of people that did not bathe, and I like to be clean.
And you know they're all up there looking at this damn clip, like, "Oh, I told you, I knew it. It was stolen."
And that was an intentional setup. They put that up there in front of all those people. Yeah, man. See, Rudy, I'm gonna be honest with you. Is one thing, to get that money, but Rudy Giuliani, man, I'm not even gonna say it.
America's mayor, man. Come on, man. You gonna have to show him some kind of respect.
More like America's failure.
I'm not sure if he
every time he smiled. Every time
Thought
he
he was.
smile, I swear I feel like his dentures are gonna fall out. I'm
Yeah,
just
not
waiting
sure
for
if
them
he
things
got
to fall out.
banned from a rally. I know in Iowa he was messing up though. He's been messing up a lot. He's been trying to call out Joe Biden, but he's been fucking up a lot also.
What Trump said.
So, if you just take the crime of what those Democrat workers were doing, and by the way, there was no water main break. You know, they said there was no water main break. That's 10 times more than I need to win this state. 10 times more. It's 10 times, maybe more than that, but it's 10 times more because we lost by a very close number.
And beyond the scope of civil litigation, what sort of overlap exists between the Giuliani ruling and Trump's criminal case in Fulton County, Georgia? Trump mentioned Ruby Freeman 18 times on that infamous Find Me 11,000 Votes call with Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, after all. So what's next? Joining our conversation,
Yeah, they probably gonna try to go up to 45 next.
Yeah, they got to. Now, me personally, since we already knew that Rudy was hurting, I would have probably went after Trump first and then got Rudy. But what they did was, because it's going to be tougher to try to get the president because he still had a little bit of money and people are going to always support him for his legal fees. So what they did was they tried to build it up and get Rudy to go ahead and confess to everything and say that he was lying. And since he was the lawyer to Trump, now it's like, okay, boom, sue Rudy again. We get more stuff on him and then we'll go for Trump. I mean, they'll probably on some real, even if they get Trump, I can see them getting maybe 2 to 3 million. But the thing is, if once they go after Trump, we know Trump has assets. The court can make him sell those assets to pay his stuff off. It'll be just like Alex Jones. Remember, Alex Jones had a billy on his head, but they settled for 85 million. So it'll be the same if they go for like $1 billion from Trump. And like, we can go ahead and settle. He have to sell one of his buildings and they'll get the proceeds. So that's possible. Hopefully this lady kind of piggybacks off what I said.
Candidate for mayor of New York City.
Oh, okay. We got mayor of New York City. We're going to have to do a little background check on you because we don't discriminate and everyone is a suspect till we remove them from the board.
Wiley. Andrew's also back with us. Andrew, let me ask you that question because burgers, after all. So what's next? Joining our conversation, former assistant U.S. and attorney and former candidate for mayor of New York City, Maya Wiley. Andrew's also back with us. Andrew, let me ask you that question because Rudy Giuliani.
No, she wasn't
I don't know
the
what the
mayor.
language
she
is.
worked with him.
Some would say, yeah, it says she formally tried to run for mayor. I'm still gonna look her up though. Maya Wiley. She might be a true American hero. You know what I'm saying? We do need some sisters out here that are legit. Because after this, we got a sister that ain't too legit, too legit to quit.
In non-legal terms, he sort of defaulted on that case because he didn't do what he was supposed to do. So he was found responsible, and the trial that occurred was basically about the fees, the penalties he would pay. That said, the same allegations are in the Georgia criminal indictment, and he's not the only one that faces them. So what's the relationship between what happened in the civil trial and what's going to happen in Georgia?
Sure. So first to the criminal case, Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss, their testimony is completely integral to some of the criminal charges brought by the state of Georgia. They're specifically focused on in terms of what Rudy Giuliani and other people did in terms of damaging and harassing them. So they will certainly be witnesses. And Rudy Giuliani, in addition to this civil case where there was the judgment last week, is facing criminal charges in connection with what he did with respect to them. It is also part of the criminal case that Jack Smith has brought federally in D.C., where allegations with respect to Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss are also part of that larger scheme. And then finally, to your question about Donald Trump, I can understand, and by the way, in our podcast, we actually asked the lead lawyer about that. Why did you not sue Donald Trump and why just Rudy Giuliani? And it's important to remember that if you're focusing on a case for something that the former president did while he was in office, that could delay seeking relief because there are issues of presidential immunity. However, statements that Donald Trump made after he left office, and I believe there are some, could form the basis of a civil case in addition to all the other liability that he is facing. In the same way, for instance, E. Jean Carroll has brought suit in connection with defamation and statements made by Donald Trump when he was no longer the president and thus does not have a claim of presidential immunity.
Right. This is an important distinction because in the time that those phone calls were made or those things were done, with some exceptions, because Rudy Giuliani kept doing this long after Donald Trump wasn't president, but Rudy Giuliani wasn't president of anything. Donald Trump was. Maya, let's put up the $148 million debt.
Now, real quick, I seen Kendall say
That
Trump
was so petty.
Yeah, he said he wasn't the president.
The president of anything.
Now, Kendall did say Trump probably moved his money offshore, but that's what I was saying. So during this whole trial, once the judge, before the trial even started, the judge looked over the civil case for Donald Trump in New York City. Now, what they did was they got someone monitoring all of his money in New York. He wasn't able to move any money. They called him out on it also. So the reason they monitored all of his money and assets in New York, because he has to pay the city up to $250 million. So November 3rd, the judge ordered a monitor to oversee. Trump couldn't move any money. He tried to move 40 million, but they caught him. The judge made him put that money back. So he can't move any money because when it comes time to pay New York City, however much that they come up with, he has to have that money. He's not going to be able to do business in New York. But right now we're just trying to see what is going to be the financial loss. So New York judge orders monitor to oversee all of Trump organization financial reporting because we already know that he was inflating on his taxes and deflating the property. Now, if you watch here, Trump financial watchdog tells judge about 40 million in previously unreported transfers. He was trying to backdoor it, but see, they got people watching it because they knew he would try to do something like this. They not playing around. Now people talk about, oh, they just try to. No, they knew he was trying to do some backdoor shit.
All I'm gonna say is this: November of next year is gonna be very interesting. It's gonna be a lot of tears, and I'm not talking about tears of joy.
Watchdog told New York judge about 40 million in cash transfers that were not previously disclosed, as it was required to do. So that's why the judge been on his ass. And that's why you see Trump crying every time he goes to court, because the judge ain't playing. The money was used to pay $29 million in taxes. Remember, he hasn't been paying taxes. Remember, he was deflating the value and inflating so he can get those loans. Well, 40 million got moved and he tried to use 29 of it to pay his taxes. I told you, Trump ain't got this money like people think. Then listen, and he needed the money to what? Secure a civil judgment. So he was trying to move money that was set aside for a different case, the 250 million, upwards of $250 million that he had to pay. So these judges aren't playing around with him. They know all the tricks. Like Eric said, he's been finessing, and right now the system is correcting all of that. The system, this dude's a criminal, man. He's a fucking crook. And now they on his ass about it. That's all it is. That's all it is. They on his head too. Now let's see this breakdown of Rudy, and then we're gonna carry on to Shalita Robinson.
Damages and see how they break down. 16 million to Freeman for defamation, 17 million to Moss for defamation, then emotional distress. You're a New Yorker. Rudy Giuliani does this. He is a guy who has wrecked people's reputation for a living. Back when he was U.S. attorney, when he was mayor, this is his thing. When people talk about the fall of Rudy Giuliani into this sort of mess that he's become, there are many people from this city who say Rudy Giuliani was always some version of this guy.
Rudy Giuliani could always be a knee basher.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. He was not gentle with his words or his action. But the Rudy Giuliani that was a U.S. attorney in a preeminent office that I was privileged to work in the civil side, one that values its reputation in the Department of Justice, did not bring cases without evidence. This is a Rudy Giuliani who made statements calling two public servants, the same man who defends public servants who are police officers. These women were public servants too. Lots of history from Rudy Giuliani being mayor. There were accusations that he was not sensitive to people of color and Black people in particular. I'm being polite. But that here the pattern.
I bet Miss Wiley was nice back in the day. I ain't gonna lie to you. You said you had to say something?
Stop and frisk.
Oh, stop and frisk. I thought you said stop. Oh, yeah. Rudy was, man, remember at one point in time in New York City, you couldn't have spray cans because of the graffiti. That was under Rudy Giuliani.
In Bloomberg.
Get him, Miss Wiley. Get him.
Is he used what I consider to be racist, stereotypical tropes against two public servants doing their job. And he was willing, both in their case, also in cases across the country, willing to make allegations of conduct that would be a crime as a former top federal prosecutor for the government, without evidence. And to your point, to the question you asked, Andrew, it was absolutely that Rudy Giuliani said, yes, I agree that my statements were false and what we call defamation per se. All that means is anybody would know when you call somebody a drug dealer, a hustler, and say they're stealing an election, it's defamatory. That is a totally different picture.
He did call them drug dealers too.
Some breaking news involving a Hail Mary.
Oh man, it's over with for Rudy. Rudy should probably be in jail mid-summer next year. Yeah, that's pretty much it about Rudy right now. He got another case.
He looks like Penguin.